Okay, Conrado, we're live.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Conrado Guerrero, SEIU Local 99 President. Welcome to our special meeting for LAUSD workers. So we are giving you some updates on school reopening for some of the schools that are reopening already on April 12th on Monday. But just to let you know that we already have hybrid agreement, and you can find it here at our website at www.seiu99.org/contracts. And this is what's going to take effect on April 12th for those schools and EECs that are opening up. But on top of that, we're also negotiating more guidelines and protocols that are going to be required for all different classifications that are returning to work. We have been negotiating with the bargaining team and LAUSD for the last week. Well, actually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The last 3 days we've been negotiating with them, and we've been proposing and they've been countering, but it's a back and forth. There's more questions than answers at this time, but we are making sure that part of it is already covered under this hybrid agreement, and we're gonna make sure that Max is gonna talk to us a little bit about the safety part of this. But we're still, like I said, we're not gonna have all the answers because we know there's a lot of questions out there, but we're gonna try to answer as many as we can, and we're gonna go from there. So now I'll turn it over to Max, that is gonna talk to us about the safety part, and we'll bring up the slide with the website so you can see what the hybrid agreements are. If you don't know what they are already, we'll bring it up again later on in the end of the meeting. Max.
Thank you, Conrado. Good afternoon, sisters and brothers. My name is Max Arias, Executive Director of the Local. A pleasure being here with you this afternoon, which is pretty serious. So just wanted to elaborate on what Conrado said, that the hybrid agreement, please look at it because the conditions are there, and it's important for it to look at it. Today, after I go over some safety, what we want to do around safety, it will be open up to questions, and we'll try and answer as many questions as we can live, understanding again that there are issues that the district hasn't resolved. As for example, you hear from our bargaining team here, like where is it that people take breaks at? That basic that the district is still scrambling. But what is important is for all of us to understand what to do in case you feel there are unsafe conditions, what your rights are, and what we all can do together to protect each other and ourselves. Because we do understand when the district says all hands on deck approach, they mean let's get the classified employees to do something approach, and that is not acceptable to us, specifically if it's put in a safe way. First, before I go into the presentation, I want to remind everybody, it is your right to be safe. And weighing, at times management acts in a way that provokes fear or confusion in us, or sometimes we feel we don't want to accept somebody. But I want to remind us, this is serious, and your safety and that of your family, your health, comes first. And you have protections. You have protections in the contract. So I'm going to review a few of these, and then I'm going to go over how we're going to look out for each other and what resources are available to ensure that when Monday comes along in the next few weeks, every member of Local 99 has a place to go to ask questions and to report conditions. That's not the district. So let me begin here. When you see that hybrid in-person instruction agreement, you will see here reporting of unsafe conditions. So basically the district is always saying that, that you are encouraged to report unsafe working conditions to the supervisor or site administrator. We also made sure that it said that it does not waive your rights under the collective bargaining agreement. Now, when we spoke to the district about this, we told them that many times our members' experience is that they're never really listened to when they speak to the supervisor or site administrator, and we were concerned that things would not be resolved in an expeditious manner. So that's there. But another thing, I want you to go look at your contract. It is under safety conditions in the contract, and it talks about the responsibility for providing safe working conditions are with the district. It is the district's responsibility to ensure, even in times of COVID, that all protocols are applied and followed. So that means, right, that it is not your duty to go around like policing these things, right? The district has to enforce them. And it also says that there shall be no retaliation or reprisal for reporting a potentially unsafe condition. So these are your rights. I would just encourage you to read the hybrid agreement that again will show, and your contract, which is also on the website, right? Units B, C, F, and G have slightly different safety language. They all have this, but some of them have additional language. So can we move on to the next slide, please? Oh, I can do it here. Good. Um, Here is just some. I would just encourage you to look at your agreements here. It's in the safety provision. These are just some of the other things that are part of this agreement, such as safety of PPE, contact tracing, etc. If any of these things are not happening, you need to report it, please, as soon as you can. So, oh, I was looking at two different things. Sorry. Can we go on to the next one, please, Nick or Blanca? Thank you. The next one. There you go. So in that hybrid, one of the agreements, and again, I encourage you to look at your hybrid agreement. This is there written in your contract, right? When we told the district that they wanted to set up a hotline, we told them that once our members were not comfortable, and then they didn't feel that there was any type of ever any results. But still, the language says that the district agrees to implement a centralized hotline so that you can report any safety concerns, and this should be anonymous. If you don't know what the hotline is, it's on the district to tell you, but we're going to talk about our own hotline in a minute. Local 99 hotline, not district hotline. This is district hotline. The district also is providing summarized biweekly compliance report to your safety committee, which is made up of some of the members up here. And that's important. But what I really wanted to point your attention to is the last paragraph here. Each site is supposed to have a COVID-19 compliance task force. Every school site, the bus yard, the garage, any site per se that has individuals having to come to work has a COVID-19 compliance task force that the district has established. It's made up of principals, teachers, but we said, well, we need to be part of that compliance task force. So the language says anybody that's interested of you can go, and become part of this compliance task force. To be able to support you in that, if you're interested, I would encourage you to either reach out to your rep or put it here in the Q&A so that we can capture your name to see if this is. But what's important about this is this task force is tasked to seeing if there are any violations in the safety and proposing immediate solutions, right? So I'm moving a little fast because we're going to save a lot of time for the answers, questions and answers. But I wanted to just go over, these are your rights. These are in our agreement. There are 3 agreements, and we'll show the link at the end. One of them is called distance learning, which is the current agreement. One is called hybrid distance learning. You will look at that one as well. And one is called expansion of services agreement. Those 3 together, I encourage you to read them. And they're all divided in units B, C, F, and G, because that is what your rights in. And I just wanted to give you an overview. But what is important is how do we have each other's back, right? Because we know the district will do what the district does. They have their own OSHA, their own compliance, hotline, and all these things. But what do we do whenever we have a concern? So can we go on to the next slide, please? This is it here. The local 99, your union, is going to ensure that this number, the Member Resource Center hotline, we're going to have a lot of staff and member leaders waiting for your calls, starting on Monday the 12th. You don't have to wait then. You can start calling, tomorrow if you start getting a wind of certain things, right? But this is how we can track and ensure that we centralize what's going on there, and also being able to connect the picture. So for example, if we're getting complaints from one site and we're getting the same complaints from another site, and then from a third site, it's a district-wide problem, right? And we need to address ASAP between member leaders and staff that's supporting that issue. If it's one site, then it's a problem with that site, and we also have to address it. But it's information that's important to gather. Please save this number, hold on to this number, publicize this number, and be ready to call if you feel in any way, shape, or form that there is an unsafe condition. I want to remind you, nobody can force you to work in unsafe conditions. By unsafe conditions, I mean conditions that put you in immediate harm's way, physically or health wise. Such as if you feel, go do this, and there's a bunch of parents that are not wearing masks and they want you to go in there, and that's unsafe, you can tell them, I can't do that because it's unsafe. When that happens, you need to immediately report what happened to this hotline. And if you also want to, and it's probably even better, there's this inquiry form here, which is important not only to receive the information, but that's how we can file a lot of the information and quantify it, because there's a lot of folks, right? So for example, if a worksite is getting out of control through this two-way communication with the hotline and your reps, because you also have reps that are manning the hotline that will be reaching out. If we have to, for example, say school Y, Washington Prep here around the corner, is completely unsafe, we need to close it down. We will demand that they close down based on county and city guidelines. So we have a lot of tools at our disposal. But it's important for us to stick together. And I also ultimately want to remind you, you got to stick together on this. If one of your coworkers is unsafe in your work site, all of you need to show up. I would recommend that you all join and go and tell the principal, this is unsafe. We're not doing it. This is wrong. It's unsafe. It's going to get us sick, and it's going to get others sick. I want to remind you, you only listen to your supervisor. When it says the hands-on approach, that does not mean that a teacher can run around and say, hey, you come over and clean this. Or no, not going to happen. That is why your team, and I wish you could have more updates, but LAU is dragging its feet on these things. That is why the team that you have here is going to talk to you, is working diligently to ensure that we have as much clarity for you as possible on what those duties they're trying to ask you to do are. And we're also holding the line in not allowing them to force you to do duties that are beyond the scope unless it's reasonable, right? So those are some of the things. So I just want to remind you, your safety and the safety of your coworkers should be paramount to this. So please record this number, make sure that you have this website, and you can also call stewards, your coworkers, and your rep. But the next 2 weeks, the focus of this local is to ensure that all our members in every school district, LAUSD being the largest, have the support so that they can actually feel safe. All right, and then again, we will evaluate. I want you to also stay tuned, because when the committee, your bargaining team here, finishes its task and gets as much as it can out of the district, is going to communicate with all the membership via electronic means, email, etc., so that all of you can be aware of what those duties or newfound rights are. Or you also may be receiving communications from your bargaining team members as well, trying to ensure that. So, and then as the week progresses, if the conditions throughout the district are unsafe to no end and it's not working out, we have the ability collectively to stop working based on safety. To do that, though, we need all this information, because that also requires certain things that we have to file, certain paperwork or charges we have to file to be able to do something like that. I hope that's not the case, but we can't. Hope is not enough. That's why we are planning, and we are here together. I know there's a lot. It's anxious times. It's crazy times. I'm gonna start going to visit some of y'all next week, wearing masks because I'm not fully vaccinated. But I do want to just at least start, and some of us here will be going around just to start sharing with you what's going on. So that anxiety that we may have, that fear we may have, turn into righteous indignation if necessary, and organized to be effective to protect ourselves and our families. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it back to Conrado, and I want to please make sure that we also show again the link to the agreements so that our members have an access to the agreements and are able to see it.
All right, thank you, Max. Also, it looks like we're trying to let more people in, but it looks like we reached our capacity right now. So I know Logic is working on expanding the licensing so we can allow more members in. So I guess now, Blanca, we would go into any question and answers. Blanca?
Yes, sorry about that. Okay. Yes, we want to start taking some of the many questions that are coming in from participants. I'll also say there were many questions that came in at registration, so we'll be taking some of those. So I'm just going to kind of be reading through them, looking through some of those that are, frequently asked. I will let all the participants know that if you ask a question, an organizer will be getting back in touch with you with a response. So even if it's not answered during this meeting, you will get a call back from one of the organizers. So just want to start off, I think, with some of the first questions. One of the many questions we're hearing is whether members have a choice to stay online on Zoom classes or to go back on campus. So one question we see is there any possible way that we can choose whether we want to stay on Zoom classes or go on campus? There are only about 2 months left of school. Can we have a choice at least until the end of the school year? I'm gonna first direct that to Pam Stevenson, who's been working with the bargaining team in the district, and then any of the other panelists who want to address that.
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's well. So I'm going to answer this question, but we do have the bargaining team joining us tonight and they can assist. So for that one, if you have an underlying issue, all employees are required to return back, whether it's the 12th, the 19th, or the 23rd. If you have an underlying issue and a request, you're supposed to submit it, which that is all documented, been on the website, and we've shared with you all from your doctor's notes. And you can share that with your supervisor and see if there's some remote work that you can do. Is it guaranteed? No, unless you have an underlying issue. So the answer is everybody is returning. Okay.
Also, I'd like to add, if that's okay, Pam, there's a 2021 COVID-19 supplement paid sick leave. That's something that came to you in your district email. So look into that and read the whole poster, please. I know some of us only read the first page and it's kind of like they just say very little, but if you read the whole poster, you might qualify for this leave. A lot of us, especially those with young children, might qualify for this leave. So definitely look at that the district has sent you. And if you have any questions, always reach out.
Before we move on, Marisol, thank you for that. That's correct. That is legislation that was passed. It didn't come from LAUSD. I just want to remind you that is a benefit, and it's up to 80 hours. So we want to make sure that you understand that is not something that LAUSD is providing. That is a state benefit, but they shared it there on the websites. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So another question related to this is, I believe this is from a special education assistant. If my student is Zooming from home, why do I have to go on campus and Zoom from there? Can't I Zoom from my house? So if you're working with a student who specifically is taking remote classes, does the assistant need to go on campus?
All employees have to return, and there will be some in-person learning and also some Zoom classes from the work site. So all employees are returning, regardless if your student is returning or not. Okay.
Okay, thank you. We have several questions regarding cohorts. Someone is asking, please explain cohorts. We are under the impression that the students and the staff couldn't mix. Now my AP is saying they can have a bus cohort, a classroom cohort, and an after school cohort. So there's questions about cohorts, how many, and can they mix between students and the staff?
So the situation with the cohorts, we have been pushing back for them to come up with cohorts for itinerants. These are people that travel. The class cohorts are already established. The minimum is 14, if I'm not mistaken. That's based off of class size, and the maximum is 24. If they have over that amount, they have to designate another area. It's based off the size of the classroom, right? That's how they're determining the cohorts. Now, the only ones that we have been addressing district, and this is what we're doing right now at the table, negotiation table for an addendum to these items that Conrado spoke of at the very beginning. There's some issues that are coming up and we're trying to get them to put down in writing. So the itinerants that have to travel was the main concern. That would be your SLIPAs, the ITD, resource SEAs, and the bargaining team can share. If there's more questions around that, but for the most part, those were the cohorts for the students. Minimum of 14, I'm sorry, right? And the maximum of 24. All right.
Okay, thank you. There's questions also about scheduling. One question is, my question is, since schools are going to be open from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., is it mandatory for us to stay that extra 30 minutes? And are we getting paid for that extra time?
We have our contract and the ECHO, there is no mandatory overtime. You have to choose to do that. However, if your shift is moved to do that, then that and incorporate that, then they can't just make you stay over, right? And they cannot just automatically extend your lunch. All hours worked is hours paid.
And if I could add to that, they can stagger a little bit from either at the beginning or at the end of your schedule. But like Ms. Pam said, they cannot make you work the overtime. And if they do, and if you choose to want to work, they definitely have to pay you for that. So, but they can't make you. If your assignment is 6 hours and you have been a 6-hour employee since Moses was a baby, like Pam would say, then that's your 6 hours. They have to give you your schedule within those 6 hours.
Okay, thank you. Another related question, is there a concrete language regarding our work hours? How flexible do we need to be? And when can members expect their work assignment, their work schedule? Some members are saying they haven't received anything in terms of when they're supposed to report for work.
Everybody, from what went out, district sent out how they will be contacting the employees with their work schedules. It's supposed to be on the LAUSD web email accounts that they have. And if you didn't receive one, you report where you normally report it. Only people who have a changed assignment would receive one like that. And it's coming from the administrator and the principal. Team, am I correct?
Yes.
Definitely. And also, if you, let's say your shift used to be 8 to whatever, 2:30 or whatever, they can actually, if you started, let's say you start that on the 12th, and then they tell you, oh, you know what, tomorrow I want you to start at 8:30. They have to give you a 5-day written notice, that they're going to adjust your hours. And they can do that because that's in the contract, but they have to give you a 5-day written notice, right? So they can change your shift hours from, if you started at 8 last semester, you might start at 8:30, just so they can have that coverage at 3 o'clock at the end of the day. So that is possible, but they have to give it to you in writing. So make sure you get that stuff in writing and don't just, but if there's extra hours on top of that, then those are not mandatory and you can choose to take them or not take them.
If I just want to chime in on one thing, I think this is a very broad and general, but it applies to us. Your duties, the duties that you normally have or that are relevant to your classification are unchanged, except what is written in that hybrid agreement. So that hybrid agreement will have attached to it if there's anything that's a little different. And all of that was checked to ensure that it falls within the scope of your classification. So when the district is trying to make you do things that are outside of your classification, first thing is report it. Remember, don't refuse a directive unless it's unsafe. and then report it because it's unacceptable. So that also, with that being said, your regular work hours, as Marisol stated, remain unchanged, and everything in the contract still is in full force and effect. That's what Conrado just stated. 5-day notice before they can change your hours, all of that. And there has been no flexibility from your team on allowing the district to do that. In fact, as a result of pushing back, there are some new positions that have been created by the district to do those duties they were trying to make you do extra, such as temperature checker. You can see in our website some of these. And also, as an announcement, if you know folks that are interested or looking for additional work, or you're looking for additional hours, there are some opportunities that were created out of this, including additional hours for units F, for units G. And we are going to be pushing for more hours for paraprofessionals because we passed the state law that gives us the right. So I just wanted to blanket say all the rights in the contract remain in full force and effect, including how they schedule, how the hours of work, including your duties and responsibilities that fall within the scope. So it's important for us to read that agreement. I know it's sometimes boring, but we try to make this one a little less boring, but I encourage everybody to read it, please.
Right, and to piggyback a little bit on Max, for those of you that say this is not on my job description, just make sure that it's not on your job description, because there's some things that we've done in schools that we haven't done in other schools, or that we don't do in one school but do in the other. Make sure, and if you have questions about your description, please reach out. And also read your contract. Your contract is pretty much your Bible. You have to read it and feel it and understand it, because it's going to get you out of anything that they want to LAUSD wants you to do extra. It'll totally negate that. So please read your contract and read your job description.
Can I add to that really quick? If you guys ever get a directive from an administrator or a supervisor that you think is questionable, please, please, please get it in writing. Look at your supervisor and say, can I please get that directive in writing? Because they will tell you to do stuff that they will never write down in a million years. Because as soon as they write it down, it's official. And if they're telling you to do something that's not in your job description, they will not write it down. They won't give it to you in writing. So if you ever get a directive you think is questionable, just look at them and say, can I please get that directive in writing? That is important, because as soon as you get something in writing, you can grieve it. So please, anything they give you that's questionable, get it in writing. Thank you.
Great, a lot of great answers on that. I know there's a lot of questions coming through on that. We also have many questions regarding underlying medical conditions. So if members have underlying medical conditions or are pregnant, do they have the right to stay at home, and how can they go about getting accommodations for that?
First thing is that the same protocol for the underlying issues. They should send those in and send it to their administrator or principal, whoever their supervisor is, as well as adding on their rep and human resources. Because some people have sent them in and some supervisors have been denying them, but they can't. So they're sending them in to, we were informed to add HR onto that email thread so that they can expedite it, okay?
And if you're denied and you feel you're unfairly denied, don't forget to fill the inquiry form, because that's how we can track and go after the district. Don't forget, it's important to do that. Thanks.
Yeah, and there's no blanket coverage for everybody, right? All of these are handled on an individual case-by-case scenario through the reasonable accommodations department. So if you have a administrator that you submit your paperwork because you're pregnant or you have an underlying condition in your doctor's note, and that administrator looks at it and says, you know what, you continue working from home, then that's a win right there, right? That's the way it should be. But if it's not, then you have to go through the whole process of going through reasonable accommodations. So some supervisors might be okay with it, but that's where you have to start. That's where it begins and stuff, right? So.
And to add to that, this is why this act that was put in place by government is so important. Read that poster. It's going to help a lot of us, especially those with underlying conditions or have young children or are pregnant or anything of that nature. It's going to help you, I promise.
Great, thank you. Also, questions regarding hero pay. I heard about hero pay. Will all paraprofessionals get hero pay? Will everyone going back to work on site hero pay? How much is it and how does it work? Directing that to the panelists.
All right, let me respond on that one then. This is, it gets a little bit, our agreement says, and it was very clear when we negotiated it, as long as there are two categories of employees that have to be mandated, I mean, employees, everybody, teachers, everybody, and those that don't, there needs to be a stipend. So we have taken the position that because the reopening is slow and soft and not all students are coming back, that we should all be receiving the stipend as you come back. The stipend is set at $5. That's one unanswered question that we're pushing. Now, if the district starts paying the stipend, right, we have position to be able to grieve up to April 26th, which is when everybody's mandated to return, everybody. So that's where we are. But your team is pushing to get the district to do what's right and reasonable, and just let it be. Just let it be. So that's why you cannot have a concrete answer. But you can have the concrete answer that it is the union's, our position, that it should continue to count for everybody at the very least up until April 26th. And we will hold and fight for that position. But the goal is to see if we can reach beyond as an acknowledgement of the work that all of our members have been doing and have been the only ones put at harm's way in a mandatory fashion. So that's where we are on this. Again, our position won't ever change. As long as you continue to mandate some and not others, you better support additionally those that don't have it. So I don't know if anybody wants to add to that.
Okay. There are questions about first aid CPR certification. Are special education assistants required to have CPR, first aid, and AED renewal certification done before the opening of schools? Because of COVID, classes have been hard to find, and some were told that they could not take the classes online. So what are the guidelines for updating CPR classes? To any of the panelists.
Okay, yes, you do have to have your certification. You can get it online. LAUSD is providing classes as well as your union. So follow up with Lydia. You can call the office, go through the website. They have classes online, but you do have to have that certification.
Okay. We have questions regarding childcare. I have to go back on April 19th. I'm a special ed assistant. I have an 11-year-old who will be staying at home to do school. Will LAUSD offer childcare to us?
Yes.
Me and the panelists.
We do have childcare. The supervision centers will be open. All you have to do, there's a program through the, how you sign up for it, not a program. The process through LAUSD to sign up for the supervision centers. They just need to follow that and they can assign their child to one of those supervision centers for care. You got something to say, Max? Go ahead.
Yeah, and to add to that, so there's two tiers, and the tiers being any child that's 5 and younger, they cannot go to the centers. So my understanding is the LAUSD will be providing care for children 5 and older, as Pam just described. For those that are younger than 5, Local 99, we did. We also represent our sisters and brothers, family childcare providers. And there is a portal that's called Karina Care. It's an app. It's really an app that connects you to licensed family childcare providers around where you live. If that doesn't work, there's also going to be a way to call an organization called Resource and Referral Center that will be able to guide you to where we have, they'll be able to guide you where there are other locations for you to enroll your infant child, whether it be a center setting, such as a Head Start, or additional more family childcare providers. Now, the good thing about Karina and on ours, they are all licensed family childcare providers. That's the highest tier of quality and safety. And then the district agreed to give a $500 stipend per child per month, which is about half of a full-time care. So that should cover, unless it's full-time care. Now the district said they're about to launch a survey based on the infants. Now be proud, because this benefit was won by Local 99, but it also is going to help teachers. It's going to help everybody that you know, everybody, administrators, teachers. But those are the two options. So it depends on whether you have infant children or whether you have children that are older, that are older than 5 years old. And there's more information on our website. And I think based on this that we're seeing today, we will figure out how to expand our FAQ, because there's an FAQ created so that we're ready when school starts.
Yes, we'll definitely be expanding that on our website. We have questions related to safety and meals and food in schools. Will we be serving meals to students? And are there special protocols for meals and meal times with students? Or is that something that?
Corrado, you're on mute.
Okay, there we go.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so
It went on mute again, Corrado.
okay, all right. Okay, so there will not be serving food to the students, any warm food to the students in the cafeterias. The students will go and pick up their food like they would in the breakfast in the classroom setting, and they will not be eating in the classroom, though. They'll be eating in a designated area.
No, they will.
Oh, they're going to be eating in the classroom? Okay.
Yeah, the kids will be eating in the classroom.
But they will not be, the kids will not be coming out and like the traditional way of at lunchtime when they come out and pick up their food at the cafeteria. It's not going to be that way. There will not be any food being served in the cafeteria for staff either. And if you need that morning coffee, don't look for it at the school, because it's not going to be there either. So cafeteria workers are just going to be reluctant to packing the breakfast in the classroom bags that they used before for their lunches and everything that the kids are going to need for food.
Thank you.
Thank you, Conrado. We have questions related to the vaccine and to tests. If COVID vaccines are not required from LAUSD, are weekly COVID tests required, even if a member already has the vaccine?
Yes, the mandatory weekly testing will continue. And that is for the purposes of keeping people safe, because not everybody is willing to be vaccinated. And so this is their way of controlling the environment so that we don't end up with like these super spreader little situations. All right.
I want to add, it's because of that it's important to observe all the safety protocols, the distancing, the cleaning, the hand washing, the whole thing. And it is important for you to report when that's not happening, because we are in a situation in which, we don't know who's vaccinated and who isn't. So we have to do safe. And again, the vaccination is not mandated. So for now, it's about the safety.
And they're also, the district said that they're going to have mobile testing vans going around to different school sites where students and staff can get tested on the same day. So keep an eye out for that, because that is something that is, like Pam said, is still mandatory. Regardless if you have the vaccine or not, you need to get tested weekly.
Also, just to add a little bit to what Conrado had said prior to a prior question, because I know this question's coming up a lot about lunch areas and being able to use a microwave, be able to use a refrigerator. At this point, this is their position, but just know that the people at the bargaining table, we are not going to try to stand for this. We are fighting as far as we can to make sure that you have an area to eat at, that you are able to use a microwave to heat up your food, because we don't want you eating in your cars and having the food spoil. We are pushing tooth and nail to make sure that all the services are definitely similar to what we had the year that we were there. And I know that they're trying to push the limits on certain things on the backs of classified. Just know that you have people on this panel and at the bargaining table who will not permit that. and we will push as far as we can. We just need patience and understanding, and anything you have or any concern you have, please ask us, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to service and make sure we answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. As a follow-up to the testing and vaccination question, what happens if someone tests positive at your school or work site? What is the procedure or the protocols that need to be followed?
There is, by law, they have to notify the union as well as the people at the location about the cases, but not who they are, because there's HIPAA laws involved with that. But they do track them through the contact tracing, and the protocol for that would be once they get to, I believe it says 3 or whatever the quota is for that location or within that environment, because it'll be different environments, right? Whether it's a bus, whether it's a warehouse, whether it's classroom, that could trigger a shutdown, but people would be notified. Yes.
So yeah, if some of you that work in maintenance and operations, you have already received emails of exposures at different locations, even it might not be your location, but because of AB 95, I believe it was, Lester, the employer has to notify us, and they don't have to give us a name, but they notify us. And then if you were a close exposure, then HR will reach out to you and handle that with you and stuff. But yeah, if you it's an email just saying that there was an exposure on this date at this location, and you go from there.
Okay, thank you, Conrado. We have the questions regarding social distancing. We were told by the special ed department yesterday that we can be closer than 6 feet to students, but only for 15-minute intervals. Is this true? So I think also to add to that question, just social distancing between staff and students, what are the rules on that?
We've been told that, yes, the CDC guidelines has moved the student to 3 feet. However, superintendent of schools and what we were told across the table and in writing that they are going to be mandating the 6 feet distancing. As it pertains to those that have vulnerable students in special needs situations, that may vary a little differently because some of them may need assistance to eat. So in those cases, those are specific case by case, but the general rule 6 feet on buses and in classrooms.
And I did see some of the slides that were given by Renata on that email, on that training yesterday. Some of those things are questionable, and we will inform you if there's any question about that, but we will bring those up to the table and we will question them, just to let you know.
Okay, thank you. We have questions about reopening meetings that are happening. If administrators are requiring us to attend campus reopening meetings outside of our work hours, should we be paid for these meetings?
Absolutely. No more details than that.
Yes. So if you're required to be there, you should be getting paid. Okay.
Right. I heard that some of the principals are saying you have to stay there till the end of this meeting, till 3 o'clock for yesterday's meeting. I called Renata and I go, hey, you're asking people to stay until 3, you're gonna pay them. She goes, no. Have everybody log off at 2:30. As soon as their time is up, it's over. I'm like, all right, just to let you know. So any of you who principal has asked for you to stay, guess what? You might get paid a little extra in your check.
Okay. Looking at some other questions here. Oh, there was a question about having to take time off, and the supervisor or administrator saying they need to take FMLA days. What are the sort of guidelines around that, around taking time off?
If I need to take time off, I follow the same guidelines. If I have vacation time or benefited time, I get to use that. FMLA is used when you got a doctor's note. They have restrictions around that, so they can't tell you to use your FMLA to take time off unless that's what it's for. If it's not, you use your benefited time, like normal.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I think there's some more questions here. Well, regarding members who working in special education, healthcare aides, questions regarding feeding and changing students, diapering students. What are the protocols around that? And again, related to social distancing and safety issues.
In the trainings that they're going to be provided, and I want some of the special ed assistants to please speak to it. They did show a presentation, and as it pertains to those specific duties, they have specific PPE that you would be wearing and how to do that particular task. So it's going to be specific, like there's specific PPE if I have to change a diaper, there's specific PPE if I have to feed or change a trach or whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? But they have a whole chart that has the PPE per the duty. So that's how they're going to be.
Right. Let me answer a little bit. I know that the PPE was an issue because at the meeting, I think somebody had mentioned, or a few of you have mentioned, that they want you to save your gowns from the previous day. I don't get that. And that's something we're definitely going to bring up tomorrow, or I will bring up with this team, that they were told that they need to be saving their gowns from the previous day and put them away in a little plastic thing and then bring them back the next day if it's not soiled. But here's the thing. The thing is, every day it should be something fresh. The mask is fresh, the gown is fresh. I know that and gowns and masks and shields will be given from district to protect those who are either too fitting or toileting issues. So those all have to be given. But the things that they're saying at this meeting need to be addressed, and I will make sure to bring that to the next meeting. Thank you.
Can I chime in here? Let me be
Yes,
very
please.
clear with everyone, regardless of what anybody says. When it pertains to PPE, they are obligated to give it to you daily. You do not put away soil, anything. You are to receive PPE as needed at your location for the tax. So as far as having conversations with anybody, if that happens to you, put in an inquiry. I'm not talking to anybody because it's been said that is the direction. It better happen. And if not, it is an unsafe condition and you do not have to stay there. Everybody understand that?
And I agree 100%.
All right. Next question, please.
Okay, thank you. We have now questions regarding school buses and students riding on the buses. So how will testing be done for students getting on the bus? If a student tests positive and has been on the bus, does that mean everyone on the bus needs to quarantine? What are the guidelines around school buses and testing students and staff on the buses?
The testing for all students, they have to clear before they can get on the bus. That's number one, as far as the COVID test. If somebody is, say that the same protocols that I said before, if there's so many positive cases on that bus, they would be notified and then that would shut down that bus. And yes, they would quarantine. But it's the same guidelines, whether it's a classroom or whether it's a bus. But as far as the students being tested, that's part of the protocol before they return. If I'm not mistaken, they have to be tested before they return. Okay.
I think we got a question too regarding temperature checks on the bus or before getting on the bus.
Right now, we're in the middle of a survey that's going out to all drivers. It's been sent to every driver for LAUSD. And it is a proposal from district concerning temperature checks as well as disinfecting their buses. Right now, the transportation, the bus drivers are making their decision if this is something they want to do or not do. If they say no, then they won't be doing that. And if they say yes, then it would be included. These duties come with an additional hour. It is not mandated until they make the decision. It is up to them. It's on their phones and their emails for them to give their feedback. And from that, that will come back to the bargaining team and to management. And the decision would be made. As far as what's going to happen on how they're going to get those temperature checks done, I know that when we left them at the bargaining table, was it yesterday, everybody? I think it was yesterday, right? They were working on a plan B because we don't know until the bus drivers make this decision. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Pam.
Mhm.
Another question related to testing. If we have to get tested weekly, how will we get tested? If we have to be on campus during work hours, if we go on our break, that is our time, will we get paid to get tested?
Yes, you get paid for getting tested. And yes, you do it during your work time. That's why they give you up to 2 hours if you're going, I'm sorry, it is, 2 hours if you're going to go and get tested. And if you were going to get vaccinated, it's 3 hours. But all of that is paid and during your work hours.
And also to add to that, if that's okay, those of you who give vaccine or vaccinized, and you're having symptoms or you're having an effect or reaction to this vaccine, you get 3 days of MS time that does not come out of your benefited time. So let's say you go get the vaccine on Wednesday, you're starting to get symptoms Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they'll be paid if you're having a reaction to this vaccine.
Yeah, but I just don't want people, thank you, Ms. Marisol. I don't want people to get confused. If anything COVID related, they don't touch your benefited time. So I just want to make sure of that. But especially if you have a reaction to the vaccine, whether it's the first shot or the second shot, you get 3 days of MSND for that specifically. But anything COVID related, you have to quarantine or whatever, it's not coming out of your benefited time. But this is a perfect time for me to also bring to light. A lot of people have been reaching out to MRC, concerned about which type of test they use. A lot of people have problems with the nasal swab, and then others want to do the saliva test. We're not sure which one they're going to be using, but if you have an issue because it's causing you problems, the nasal swab, you need to get documentation from your doctor so that they can get that over to your supervisors in HR so that they can make sure that when you are tested, you are not subjected to the nasal swab. Okay? Thank you, Blanca.
Thanks, Pam. We have questions regarding being asked to do additional duties or duties outside of your regular scope of work or regular shift. As a special ed assistant, can we be asked to check in students at the gate outside of our regular shift hours with pay so we get extra pay time? Is this okay? And I guess just broadly for any job classification that's being asked to do additional duties or additional time.
If it's additional time, you automatically, all hours work is hours paid. So any additional time that you agree to, you get paid for. I think that some of the paraprofessionals may be referring to the temperature checks because that is also in their job description. So they can do the temperature checks. And there is some flyers floating around for people that want to do this and for additional hours. Absolutely, you can do that. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
But what you cannot do, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
But what we cannot do is they cannot ask you to come in to start cleaning tables or moving books or filing things inside the office. Those they cannot ask you to do. It has to be related, especially special ed assistants. We are there to service students, period. So make sure that whatever you're doing it when you're servicing the students. And then always do it in the presence of a certified teacher.
Thank you, Marisol. But let me clear that up a little bit. Thank you, Queen. She on fire tonight. So let me help that out a little bit. Any relief duty that you are offered, you can do if you want to. They can't mandate you because they have some hours for cleaning. You know what I'm saying, through B and G. So I don't want people to feel like they can't um, apply for that, right? Or to do that. All of it is additional hours and pay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. We have questions about wages. Is Local 99 currently negotiating a wage increase?
We, negotiations, you want to answer it, Max? Or do you, okay. Negotiations, we are going to be talking to them about setting up some dates after the 26th date of April. We're trying to get through the reopening. That's what they asked us to do once we got in the middle of this COVID. So we're going to be proposing dates for the first part of May to start the full contract negotiations. That's where we negotiate the wages. Okay.
Another question regarding vaccines. Do you need to get both doses of the vaccine before going back to school, back to work?
From what I'm understanding, no, because after the first shot, you are the ones that they're using, Moderna and Pfizer. Pfizer is like 94% effective, and I think Moderna is something like in the high 80s. And then by the time you get the second shot, you know, you'll be fully vaccinated. So no, you don't have to have both before returning, because some are going to go back without getting one at all. So you're on mute, Blanca. Blanca, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry, something happened to my computer.
You're on mute again.
Okay, I think that's
You and Corrado sharing the microphones.
we're having some audio issues here. Okay. Just looking through some more of these questions. There were some questions about if someone is asked to supervise students or be in a room without certificated staff present. Is that allowed, or is that allowed for a period of time? See a lot of the
No more.
panelists shaking their head.
I know, because we get this so much. Listen, we were very specific about that. That is contractual. That is also in the codes. There has to be a certificated in the classrooms. Now, we do know they go to the restrooms or do whatever. That restroom break should not be more than a 10 to 15 minute walk to and back, right? So that's understandable, but all of these breaks that everybody keeps hearing and seeing, that's not acceptable. They have to have certified staff in the classroom. Okay.
Or also to add to that, for those of them who are having classrooms outside, like in tents and stuff, it is still a classroom. It is still mandated that they have a certificated person present at all times.
Okay, thank you. I have another question. Is it protocol for the principal to ask the staff if they are getting vaccinated and to share with parents that all staff will not be vaccinated?
Absolutely not. That is a HIPAA violation. If they got it and they shared it, but they don't have to share anything with them, no. And let us know if they've been badgered about that, please.
Scrolling through some of these other questions here.
We have, can I just say this while you're looking for the questions? There are so many questions. I just want to reaffirm what Conrado said. We will be answering these questions even after this Zoom meeting. They will be answered within 48 hours through the staff. So just rest assured you will get an answer. We just apologize. There's so many people and we're so happy about that. It's just that we can't get to every single question. Thank you. Yes, Blanca.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it's many questions, and I'm trying to go through some of the most frequent ones, but yeah, everyone will be addressed. So our school principal is forcing us to do temperature checks. So basically has a too bad it's your job attitude. So are members required to do temperature checks if that's what they're being directed to do?
Say that one more time. I didn't understand.
Well, the question is, our school principal is forcing us to do temperature checks. and has a too bad, it's your job attitude. So why are the lowest on the totem pole asked to do the riskiest job? The principal does not care despite many being against it. Weren't schools given a budget to hire medical staff to do this? So basically, can members be required to do temperature checks?
Only the ones that have it in their job description. And as far as I know, that is special ed assistants and healthcare assistants. If they don't have it in their job description, then no. But as far as the risk, I just want to clear up something. You guys do understand that the temperature checks are done with the little machine that goes to their forehead. Should be no touching or anything. So I'm not sure where that's coming from, but it has to be in your job description in order for you to be automatically assigned that. Okay.
Okay. Next question is, with the hybrid setting, students in these cohorts may have different schedules. Students with music classes, for example, who use instruments may be a distraction for the other students. Is the district addressing these issues?
Some of these issues that are being, the questions like that, that's going to be specific, right? Because you're talking about music classes and things like that. We've been talking about the actual classroom, like instructional piece. Please reach out to your rep and we can figure out what to do about that to get that question answered. But it's just not been something that we've been dealing with as the bargaining team, because it hasn't been on the table for that, okay? But I did want to make sure that we are wrapping it up pretty soon because we're going over our time for Zoom. So we can take a few more questions, but we're gonna have
I think we'll take a few more and then yes, we'll wrap up. If you have to leave because of exposure and be off of work for a certain amount of time, will you still get paid to do to be off? And do you have to use your sick time or vacation time?
all of that is all exposure for COVID. All COVID issues that you get at work, you're covered for the 10 days. It does not come out of your benefited time. And I know that you guys have an agreement that was just bargained by your wonderful bargaining team here in February 19th, as a matter of fact, that as of December 1st, all of your benefited time that had been used is to be restored. So anything COVID related, it has to come out of that MSD or that funding, I think, is it FFRC? Am I saying that right? That state funding benefit to cover anything dealing with exposures and things of that nature. But your benefited time should be restored as they're going retro back from December 1st up to present day, okay?
And I know we were bringing that issue up. The district said it's not an automatic that it gets returned, so you need to reach out to your supervisor and have them reach out to the human resource, HR, in your department so that they can approve it, so they can reverse your time back to you. So it's not an automatic thing, so you got to make sure you reach out to that. We've been trying to make it automatic, and the district claims they can't figure out who was off, but we know they can. But if you don't want to wait a long time, just reach out to your HR or supervisor, make sure they reach out to them so that you can get your time back sooner.
And you guys know your bargaining team, they're gonna make sure that they can't figure it out. We're gonna help them figure it out so everybody get their time back, okay?
That's right.
Hey,
And together with that, there's a form that the SAAs have, and that form, if you fill that form out, they have to submit it to Personnel Commission, and they'll retroactively put those benefited days in.
Thank you, Marissa. I think Tony has a statement too. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody saw there was a district email that went out last night regarding that, where they were supposedly extending MSND time or something like that. But there was an email that went out last night, so everybody needs to check their district email regarding that MSND, the additional 10 days. Okay, so everybody needs to check that.
Thank you. Yes. Any more questions? If you are, Blanca, you're on mute again. If you're talking, you're on mute. Okay.
Okay, sorry, for some reason it's not clicking correctly. Okay, this will be our last question. It comes from a bus driver. It says, during this time, we were getting paid 7 hours. As bus drivers, hours may or may not be reduced to do a short day, will they continue to pay us the 7 hours? For example, if our route ends at 4 hours, will they add on the 3 hours to make up the 7 total?
Now, you will be getting your APT time once you start your routes. So whatever your average paid time was, that's what you get. But those that have, if your route hasn't started yet, you remain on the language that guarantees you 7 hours. So if my route doesn't start to the 19th, I'm gonna be getting those 7 hours to the 19th. If my route doesn't start to the 26th, I'll be getting those 7 hours to the 26th. But it would be your average pay time. Yes.
Okay, thank you to everyone. That was our last question, as was shared. You know, everyone's question will be addressed, so you can expect to hear from an organizer regarding your question. And now I will turn it back over to Conrado.
Thank you very much, Blanca. Thank you, everybody, for all those questions. Sorry we don't have more answers for you, but we are going to continue to work on this. And if we need to, we'll have another meeting like this next week with more updated information, because we are going to continue to bargain with the district over this. And also, P, if you can bring up the first link, the first slide, I should say. And also for members that came in late, we apologize for that. We had a little issue with our licensing, but we took care of that now. This is gonna be, this was recorded. So whatever you miss, you can go back on our website, Blanca, correct? And watch this later when we post it back up. So if you miss anything for like the first 15 minutes or whatever it was, then you can go back and watch it on our website. And here's the link. This is to review our hybrid instruction agreements that exist. Max talked about these. On top of this, our regular contracts are still in effect. So whatever doesn't fall within there, everything should fall, the majority of stuff will fall between those two items. But please go to our website here and look at those contracts, study them. If there's anything that's not, doesn't feel like it should be done, you should be doing that or anything like that, we should make sure that you get it in writing, like Bart said earlier, and reach out to your member leader, to your rep, anybody out there and stuff. And regarding that safety committee, we encourage members to join that safety committee, because we always are reluctant and we end up looking on the outside in, because always teachers or somebody else that takes those spots. But right now we are entitled to those positions. So let's take advantage of it. Let's not be in the shadows anymore, and let's continue to be safe out there. And that's all I have for today. Max, you have anything else?
No, except please, could you go to the last slide so we can show the hotline number one last time? Just to add to Conrado, really appreciate it, Conrado. Here it is. Don't forget, this is important. Use this hotline or use the inquiry form, and we'll go from there.
Share this.
You went on mute, brother.
Yes. Feel free to share this number with anybody, any coworker that has any concerns. Like Max said, we're expanding the people answering the phone at the member resource center. So every phone call is going to be logged, or every inquiry form is going to be logged in also, to make sure that everybody gets their issue resolved. And that's pretty much all I have for today. And that's all we have. And if we need to have another meeting, we'll advertise it again next week once we get more answers from district. But to be honest, the district doesn't even know what they're doing either. So, but we're going to hold them accountable, because we want to make sure that we're safe. So enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, bye. Thanks.